One of the most famous things ever said about science is this: the universe is written in the language of mathematics. Galileo said it, and for 400 years, scientists, physicists, and mathematicians have repeated it like scripture. I think it's wrong. Not slightly wrong, structurally wrong. And I think the mistake it contains is exactly why we haven't solved quantum physics. Let me be precise about what math is, because math is extraordinary. I'm not dismissing it. Math is the most accurate descriptive tool humans have ever built. It predicts the behavior of physical relativity with a precision that is genuinely staggering. Quantum electrodynamics, the most mathematically precise theory in all of science, makes predictions accurate to 1 part in a trillion. That's not nothing. It's one of the greatest achievements in human history. But here's what math is doing when it does that: it's describing, and describing something is not the same as being its language. A map describes a territory with extraordinary precision. You can build a map so detailed that every road, every elevation, every body of water is captured perfectly. But the territory doesn't speak map. The map is not the territory's language. The map is a human tool for navigating the territory. Math is the most precise map math is the most precise map humans have ever drawn. But the universe isn't a map, and it doesn't speak mathematics, it just is. When Galileo said the universe is written in mathematics, he made a category error. He confused the tool with the thing the tool describes, because math works so extraordinarily well, because it predicts and models and describes physical reality with such precision, it's easy to conclude that math must be the underlying language, that reality is, at its core, mathematical. But think about what math requires to function: division, separation, this quantity and that quantity, variable A and variable B, 1 and 0, more and less. Math is built entirely on the structure of distinction. You cannot do mathematics without separating things from other things, without drawing borders, which means math has a hard structural limit. It can only describe what can be divided. And what if the most fundamental nature of reality cannot be divided? Here's what every contemplative tradition that has ever pointed at the deepest nature of reality has said: at the ground, prior to observation, prior to measurement, prior to the division of observer and observed, reality is undivided, not made of parts that are connected. Undivided. One thing. Not even one thing, because one implies the possibility of two, but just being, uncaused, undivided, prior to the structure that any language, including mathematics, requires to function. Now, here's the thing: quantum mechanics keeps producing results that point directly at this. The observer effect, the act of measuring, changes the outcome: entanglement. Two particles separated by any distance instantly affecting each other as if the distance doesn't exist. Wave function collapse. A particle exists in multiple states simultaneously until divided from its context by the act of observation. Every one of these phenomena is physics running into the undivided ground and not having the language to describe what it's finding. Because the language it has, mathematics, is built on division, and what it keeps finding is prior to division. Space-time is not the universe. Space-time is inside the universe. Math describes the behavior of reality within space-time extraordinarily well. But space-time itself, the entire framework within which math operates, is not the ground floor, it's the furniture. And math describes the furniture beautifully. The dimensions of it, the weight, the way it moves, the relationship between pieces. But it has no access to the room, because the room is being. And being is prior to the divisions that math needs to say anything at all. To say the universe is written in mathematics is like saying a forest is written in the language of the map you use to find it. The map is yours, the forest just is. There isn't one, and that's the most precise answer available. The universe doesn't have a language because language is a human tool built on division, and the universe, at its ground, is prior to division. Being isn't a language. Being is what's there before language arises. You cannot speak it, you cannot write it, you cannot mathematically model it. You can only be it. And here's what makes that a scientific statement and not just a spiritual one. When humans enter states of being, deep non dual awareness, the dissolution of the observer observed split, the brain produces measurable signatures, whole brain coherence, gamma synchrony, the quieting of the default mode network, the system that constructs the self as separate from everything else. The state that has no language leaves a physical trace, which means it's real, it's measurable in its effects, and it's pointing at something that math, for all its extraordinary precision, cannot reach. So if the language of the universe is not math, if math is a human tool that describes the behavior of reality within space-time but has no access to what space-time itself arises from, then the project of using mathematics to find a theory of everything else, of everything, is like trying to use a map to understand what land actually is. The map gets more and more detailed, more and more precise, and it keeps describing the territory beautifully, but it will never tell you what the territory is. Because what that territory is exists prior to the act of mapping. The next leap in physics isn't a better equation, it's the recognition that equations are maps, and that the territory they're mapping is being, undivided, uncaused, prior to math, prior to language, prior to space-time. The universe is not written in mathematics. Mathematics is written by beings trying to describe a universe they are already a part of. And the part they're already a part of, the being part, that's the language. Not spoken, not written, not calculated, but lived. Galileo was one of the greatest minds in human history, and he was wrong about this. Not because math isn't extraordinary, it is, but because he confused the map for the territory, the tool for the thing the tool describes. The universe doesn't speak mathematics. Mathematics speaks about the universe. And there's a part of the universe, the ground of it, the source of it, the uncaused, undivided being of it, that mathematics has never spoken about. Not because it hasn't tried, because that part doesn't have a language. It has something better. It has being. And being doesn't need to be spoken to be known, it just needs to be recognized.